Friday, August 8th, 2025. I'm your host, Artizel408. We abide by the acronym PLUR on this show. That's peace, love, understanding, and respect. The first three are hollow unless we respect one another's opinions. Today's topics: Apple invests an additional $100 billion in USA manufacturing, the Trump-Putin summit, and then there's an executive order to thwart debanking discrimination, as well as a census change. So, first of all, about this Apple investment, what do folks think about this? An additional $100 billion coming in. Does that mean tariffs are working? Any thoughts from the gallery?
The name of the company is Foxconn, and Wisconsin is still waiting for it.
Okay. What is the timeline on that, Andre?
This was the announcement during Trump's first term that there would be a massive $100+ million facility built by Foxconn in Wisconsin. Never happened. So just like Dan said, there's a lot of announcements happening. Let's wait for, and not to be just a poo-pooer on Trump, but if we want to talk about brass tacks, we should hail people actually, putting shovels into the ground and building something. But right now we just have announcements about things. So,
okay. All right. Thank you for that, Andre. Claudio?
Yeah, I think that Apple is trying every way to ask for exemptions and other kind of stuff, while at the same time Taiwan is having the same issue, and TSMC is already, as Wesley saying, building stuff, and they are still doing stuff to prevent tariffs. To be honest, I think Apple is doing greenwashing, but with green in the sense of green as dollars. I say, I will put 100 billion. Yes, tell us on what. As Andrew say, Foscon, Wisconsin. Where is Foscon, Wisconsin? I mean, it's like more a promise to have something in exchange rather than something that is already done. Regarding that, Andrew, no. It was something related with the arrival of Trump. It was not something related with the CHIPS Act. Because all the stuff related with the CHIPS Act, I remember, was from South Korea and Germany. In fact, some have told about it like a snatch of high added value companies. In some way, it has been felt like that way also from Europe. I think it has been that most dangerous than the tariffs in some way, despite it's for the environment, it's for this, it's for that. And at the end, yes, I think they are trying to have something in exchange from Trump, since a lot. But I don't know if you saw the joke of Stephen Colbert of the I kiss. It's something like that.
Okay. Thank you, Claudio. And forgive me, guys. This is actually from Time Magazine, just to add what's behind this, right? Apple facilities in Arizona, California, Iowa, Oregon, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, and Washington State will be expanded. The company said it would construct a new factory in Houston, Texas by the end of 2026, instead intended to build servers that support Apple's AI products. Apple's also promised to increase education for tech manufacturing workers. The Apple Manufacturing Academy in Detroit, Michigan is scheduled to open on August 19th. Apple said it would double its designated U.S. Advanced Manufacturing Fund from $5 billion to $10 billion. So, Andre, I guess the August 19th date would be something to look at to see if this is, going forward. Who knows, right?
We'll see. I mean, a lot of this stuff also relies on regulations and approvals, etc. So apparently the TSMC plant in Arizona was discussed way back in 2020, but the regulations and federal grants and everything was tied to the CHIPS Act, and now things are moving forward in 2025 now. So I think, again, you can have these announcements, but a lot of things just take time to build anyway. I think somebody said during the Trump's announcement at the beginning of this administration that he's going to have a wave of new factories due to the tariffs. And somebody said it takes a minimum of 10 years to build a factory of a certain size in the United States. So we'll see what happens. I think it just takes time.
Okay. Thanks for that, Andre. Claudio?
No, I think that 10 years, it wasn't more about the building of the staff rather than the formation of the people inside the building, to be honest. I mean, all that people, for example, the ones that are starting now to form people is Amazon. It's not saying I'm putting 100 billions, I'm putting
Right.
100 fantastilliards and this kind of stuff. I think the fear of these people of Apple is that because they have the reputation they have, is that they are not able to attract American human capital to be formed. If I get what I mean, Andrew, because they don't have like OpenAI other stuff, the money to say, hey, I can give you 1 billion to do a thing, and it can make sense for Apple because it's not in a good situation. AI can destroy its all its environment. If you can do that without using Siri, other things, Apple can kiss goodbye everything.
Thank you for that, Claudio. All right. I think that rounds out this topic. Okay, next topic then, the Trump-Putin summit. This is from NBC News. Putin-Trump meeting agreed will happen in coming days. For details, we turn to the Polish news outlet Onet. Thank you, Andre, for posting this to the show chat. The U.S. proposal includes a ceasefire in Ukraine, recognition of the territories occupied by Russia through deferral for either 49 or 99 years, the lifting of most of the sanctions imposed on Russia, and a return to energy cooperation, namely imports of Russian gas and oil. What do folks think about this? I know on the morning meeting there was kind of a wait and see attitude, but that's how it's generally been. It seemed like Mark shifted from between the talk, from the beginning a little more skeptical to less skeptical, but we'll see. Claudio, with your hand up.
I think that Putin.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that Putin he doesn't want to go in Rome and talk with Zelensky. I think he's, as Jim Geraghty said, he has lost his possibly last chance because RIA Novosti is telling we don't want the 25%. We want all Ukraine and destroy all Ukrainians. They are like Hamas with the Israelis, let's be honest. Or we can say the ultra-Orthodox against the Palestinians. It's the same thing. For me, are two sides of the same coin. And also another thing is that when he said that the first thing to do was to demilitarize and also to denazify if Zelensky stays, and the military will continue to have the coverage from NATO, and the militarization means he lost, he morally lost, because he will be like the east of Ukraine. It's like North Korea. It will be a pariah in the international society. It will be something that will be hit by sanction every day, every time. I don't trust this fact that they will lift the sanction. Europe will not lift the sanction. And America probably will find an excuse to put that sanction. Who doesn't tell that, like they tried last time, Russia will put a group people enter in West Ukraine and try to do the same stuff they did on Donetsk and Lugansk. I mean, he lost. Putin, if he accepts, he has just to say, oh, I give you the peace. But someone on the military of his country say, no, you have been a piece of shit. You promised us the militarization in the Ukraine, so now we'll make you end your Putin empire dream. That's what will happen, in my opinion. He cannot accept that offer from the US.
Thank you, Claudio. Dean, welcome.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think Putin is still believing that he can outlast the world for many reasons. Whether or not he believes that he owns the upper hand with Trump, whether or not he believes that the world community will not stay together, it really doesn't matter. This is a long game that needs to play out, and no one is going to live or die. Probably a poor choice of words. In a chess match, the next move, there's a bunch of moves that are coming. And depending on what Putin does, we'll have to change. And look, he's a master at it. So it is unfortunate where we find ourselves. I'm thankful that Trump is completely engaged. Not to say that he wasn't before, but I think his initial strategy was he was wrong, and he even said so. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we're heading in the right direction, and we'll see where these next moves take us.
Thank
How's
you for
that for a
that.
politician answer? Yeah.
No, that's a good answer. I caught a very interesting YouTube channel. I'll encourage folks to check it out. Vlad TV, a fellow from Kyrgyzstan. So interesting perspective. And what he was sharing was that he has friends that have gone to both fronts, more friends on the Ukraine side. They're all alive. He said the couple friends that went on the Russia side, dead and died quickly. Another thing he said, I wasn't able to verify this, but that in Russia, Putin has made it a crime that if you publish pictures of the grave sites, it's something punishable by 5 years. So we're not seeing those images out of Russia, but in other words, the pain is being felt. So he was just praying for peace and praying for a just resolution to the situation. So that's Vlad TV. Another thing I would point out, and then I would hopefully Andrei can comment on this, that in normal circumstances, I found this very interesting. The Ukraine constitution puts a 5-year limit on the presidency, and then the Speaker of the House holds office until the elections determine the next president. Is that correct, Andrei? Just the normal circumstances?
No,
No.
There's a updated. There was an updated what you call that succession plan that was done after the last president ran away in 2015, where the parliament had to figure out a way of having a president if the president ran away to Russia, which in that point, that was the Speaker of the House. Right now, all of that is superseded with the state of war, which doesn't allow elections. So whatever Putin and his friends are saying, this is why Putin's not going to meet with Zelensky, because Putin has said repeatedly that he doesn't recognize Zelensky as a legitimate president, yada yada yada. He doesn't believe Ukraine is a legitimate country. So I'm on the camp of, I'm not in the John Bolton camp who says this is a mistake or what have you, but I'm in the camp of it's not going to happen anytime soon, a meeting, but mostly because it just doesn't go with Donald Trump's playbook. Donald Trump's playbook is maximum pressure, put the pressure on before you have a meeting with somebody, so you can extract the most out of them. And he hasn't done that for Putin yet. So today's the deadline. There are no increased sanctions as of yet today. Maybe we're going to hear them at the Azerbaijan-Armenia signing. That might be a good occasion to mention that. But unless he puts maximum pressure, and Kenny's been talking about this with me for a while, you put sanctions on, you put a big package of offensive strike weapons for Ukraine, and maybe you do something with war crimes and something. This is what he did with Zelensky when he wanted a 30-day ceasefire for Zelensky. He cut off aid and he cut off military intelligence and brought them to the table. He hasn't done that with Putin. And until he does that, there's no reason for him to meet with Putin because he doesn't have him by the balls.
Okay. All right. Claudio?
In this, I differ a bit from Henry because there is just a bit of pressure on the fact that there is non-granting of a NATO non-expansion, and there is already a non-granting that he will not be militarized Ukraine. But I think that it's right to say that Trump can extract more, because rather than say that Russia can take the 25% of the nation, he can simply say that Ukraine will promise a regional autonomy to that 4 provinces if they have all this problem with the Ukrainophonia of this kind of shit, and to see what will happen. I mean, they can extract it, because if the problem, as Putin said, is the Russian-speaking community, they can simply do that. He doesn't need to arrive, occupy the place, and do all that stuff. Because also, Andrei, I don't know if you see the message of the lady children that told Putin, give us water. I mean, Putin for all these years has told, no, in Donetsk and Lugansk, Russia is governing well these places. They are governing so well that they don't have water. They are in the same state of Gaza, let's be honest. He's not governing that places well at all. And the people in Donetsk and Lugansk, some thinks that is because of Ukraine bombarding. No, it's also Russia that is bombarding that places. And these people doesn't understand that, which is quite ridiculous. For real. It's like that. Do you know that meme, Raul, of the boot of the person on the arm? It looks like that meme. The same situation. And we say, no, it's the Ukrainians. No, It's the Russian that you are defending, or you given up. Some people we can say, because some people say no, there is not any war. It's all okay. We just want peace. For real, a friend of mine called in that places, and people say, no, we don't care. Sorry, bye.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Claudio. ML.
Going back to what Andre said, and I have no proof, I can't prove any of this, what I'm about to say, but I think that we've seen White House trips equal more than just the surface only thing. Sometimes there's some backdrop there that we're not privy to, and we don't learn about it until later. I don't find it to be a coincidence that Azerbaijan is in the White House doing this deal with them. I think there's something more afoot, especially when it comes to Ukraine and Russia and trying to get a deal. And I would hope that, this would be a subtle warning to Russia to get with the program, which they won't. We all know that the tips and tricks of the trade, which is they just delay, delay, delay. And how much more time this will buy them. Anyway, but if we could get do something with Azerbaijan and trade or something lucrative like that, it's not very hard to connect them to Turkey, to even Israel, really, and a couple other places in the Middle East to come up with some kind of southern pressure on Russia's border to like listen, guys, if you don't start coming to the table and getting serious, really serious, the United States isn't afraid to reach out and talk to other folks. But again, that's just a guess. And I hope that's what's going on anyway, to achieve that maximum pressure that Andre had alluded to. So, but we won't know until we know it. So
Thank you. Thank you, ML. Andre?
I'm just going to clarify. There are no Russian-speaking territories in Ukraine. They have all been bombed to hell. It is the most landmine territory in the world right now. There are 12 cities of 100,000 that have been completely leveled. They don't exist anymore. So whatever was the talking point before the war, where we want autonomy for yada, 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 that does not exist. These are depopulated areas that are simply going to be controlled by the Russian military. This is not about autonomy or independence for anybody, because that area has been just completely leveled.
The displaced people, Andre, who were in those provinces, where do they reside right now?
The majority are in Ukraine. The majority are about 7 million people have been repopulated throughout Ukraine, and then the rest are throughout the world. But those have been moving fairly regularly. The bulk of them came at the first year of the war, and then a bunch of people moved back. I personally know people who are retirees here in the States who are like, it's getting too expensive here. I'd rather move back to Ukraine.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That does happen. Families gone back to India as well.
Except we have a war going on, and that's insane.
Right.
Sounds good. Let him go.
What?
Sounds good. Let him go.
I
would like it too. I mean, at some point, I'd like to retire there. Sure, I'm not a citizen, but these are people who grew up there, who came here for like 50 years, and they're like, you know what? It's I can still get my Social Security, but the cost of living is cheaper overseas.
And Andre, I want to see if I can ask this question correctly, right? Like, do you see anyone in the Ukrainian parliament that would be the next person, or is that ahead of the game? Because right now it's martial law, so any discussion would be premature.
It's premature because the people in the parliament are people who got elected before the war. So these are way not the right people to be leading the country right now. At some point, we're going to have a parliamentary election. We're going to have a lot of veterans leading the country. And
what coincidence, Andre?
Yeah. So I think you can't look at Parliament today as being a potential. There are people who really want it. They're very thirsty online, but they're not people that necessarily will get a plurality.
Okay, and there's a fellow whose last name I almost did a double take. I was like, wait, is that the same as Andre's last name? But if you want to take a guess, is who I'm talking about. Controversial figure in Ukraine Parliament right now.
No. Who?
Okay, this is Oleksandr Dubinsky.
Yeah, he's nothing. He's really not. Yeah.
Okay,
again, right. There are people who are thirsty, but
Okay, but you wouldn't. So you won't go as far as to say that this character is like Russia.
And we're way too far out in terms of finding out who's gonna. I've done election monitoring for 4 presidential elections in Ukraine, and you walk in there because you have multiple rounds, and I've always done the first round, and it's never what you expect. So, Zelensky is a good example.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's going to round out our discussion of the Trump-Putin summit. And then our next topic, there's an executive order out about debanking, to deal with debanking. The debanking, I guess, discrimination by debanking. Trump says that he wanted to put $1 billion of his with Chase or some other banks, and they were like, no, 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 no. And so he had to find a bunch of other smaller banks to put his money in. Apparently, Melania Trump also faced this situation. So any thoughts about this executive order on debanking? Does anyone have $1 billion they're trying to store somewhere? Claudio.
I can tell you that it wasn't just a problem in US, also in UK happened to Nigel Farage and also to many conservative member of parliament. And to be strange, many of them, they were not neither the kind like Jacob Rees-Mogg. They were moderate people like Genrich, of these people that just they were strong on immigration, but not of the kind that say British first, England to Englanders, this kind of bullshit. For me, it's something scary because it can give a problem in the sense of when you want to have a conservative association, libertarian association, that kind of them, and someone can debunk it because they are not agreeing with the SG agenda or with other agendas, for me, sad. It means you create an imbalance between what a party can do and what another party can do. And so it's fair that they are fighting the banking. And I know that National Review was already talking about that right before the executive order, at that some places already at state level were acting to do it, to give sanction infractions to bank trying to do this kind of stuff. And by the way, it's not okay if they do that to us. It's not okay if they will do that in future to liberals. To liberals, of course, it's a problem anyway. We have to specify it. That.
Okay, thank you for that, Claudio. Haley.
So from what I understood, it is crosses party lines. Like even the crypto guys, who are some of them are very progressive, got debanked. What I want to know is, first of all, it's the most outrageous act. One of the most outrageous acts I think I've ever heard, and I think they did something in Canada with that truckers protest. They also debanked them back in the day, I remember. And I just don't understand how something like that is legal.
Haley, they did in Canada. It was even worse. They just completely froze people's bank accounts.
Right. So
it wasn't legal.
I understand like how one bank can decide they don't want to do business with you, and they can.
Oh no, this was the government.
So what I'm right, that I might have been a different thing, but with the debanking it, like how can that be legal where every single bank then is allowed to basically put like a, big no sign on. I don't understand how this is legal. If anyone can explain like how this is something that can be done, that every single bank could just completely outlaw you and your business.
Any business, even if it's publicly traded, can decide who they want to serve.
So there really isn't any type of law against, like, I mean, this is like, isn't there a law when like people gang up on you and like not have, like, isn't there laws against something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, the ACLU is going to step in. I'm not holding my breath there. I think Andre has a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead.
I was just going to say quick, and then. But if it's like a government thing, then they'd say no, you can't. But private business, we really don't want the government controlling what private business can and can't do.
I think it's just outrageous. I think it's one of the most outrageous things I've ever heard. I really do.
I share your concern, Haley. Andre.
I do not share the same concern.
Oh, you might disagree on something, Andre.
Well, no, Haley, you brought up crypto, and the crypto lobby has been a big pusher for this debanking thing, but mostly it has to do with destroying the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the people who make sure that companies aren't ripping you off and stuff. And that's something that has been successfully almost completely gutted. But on top of that, because the Coinbases, those companies don't want to have regulations. They want to have completely Wild West in terms of their financial products that they can sell you. Whereas, if you're any other kind of financial institution, you would have a government oversight into, wait, what are you selling? Is this an actual meme coin? Is that an asset? Like who's backing this, etc. So
that'd be criminal, though. Like that could border on the line of doing something illegal or doing something
right. But this is why
about people who just.
This is why crypto has been backing the debanking, put some block off any kind of investigation into the kinds of things we do under the guise of debanking. And it's very likely that once they achieve what they get, then they'll forget about debanking. But they have been the ones who are putting out think pieces about debanking. They have been, their PACs and their money has been backing this. So that's number one. Number two, this country is different than Canada and whatever else happened. The most that the Biden administration did was offer informal guidance to banks that they can look at the background of the people that they're giving loaning money to and use that as a basis. Because if you do informal guidance, you don't have to go through the consultation process of public hearings, etc. So there was an informal guidance put out by the Biden administration. Now, when people like Melania complained that she can't get a bank account for Barron at one bank account because his father is under investigation or something, that's a really privileged thing to complain about. It's not really something that affects the majority of Americans. These people are not us.
I understand that.
They can get a bank account in dozens of other banks. So if one bank doesn't give them a bank account, it's not the end of the world for them.
I totally understand that. I think the principle in and of itself is wrong. Why does unless I am a criminal and I have a criminal record, why does my bank care who I am and why does it, you're a bank, you are not the federal government. You shouldn't care about who the person is you're banking with unless there's a reason to. And I understand in Trump's case, personally, there might have been a reason to, but it shouldn't affect his family. And I just think that if it can happen to someone like him, it can happen. I mean, it can literally happen to the little guy who has absolutely no power to fight back against the big bank. So I think on principle, it's like, it sounds so bad when like you hear him talk about it. I'm sure the nuances are obviously different because it's Trump, we all know. But I just think in principle, this is just like really bad news.
It actually started with the Patriot Act after 9/11, the restrictive banking laws to prevent people from laundering money from that were terrorists. And then you had Sarbanes-Oxley, then you had Dodd-Frank. So you had three very restrictive banking laws to protect the consumer from fraudulent companies. And it's been used to prevent people from having bank accounts. For example, if you say you've been in business and you own an auto body and you get arrested for a DWI and you're with like Bank of America or Chase can close your account. They can do that, and it has affected smaller people that have DWIs or I actually had a friend who got divorced and his wife left him, and then he got into a bad custody battle, and then he went to see his kids once without permission, so she got a restraining order. So that person eventually wasn't his bank. He closed his company's bank account, and he had a tough time finding another bank account. But and Andre's right, you can go to a smaller bank, but a lot of the larger banks participate in this. And once again, it's because of three banking regulations that occurred over a 20-year period. And Andre can talk more about it. So,
okay, thank you, Vincent. Claudio?
For me, the issue is that it's not a problem that smaller people are not taken. The problem is that if one day one of the smaller people enter in an association that, for example, I can say, I, for some reason, became a famous politician in Italy. I want to work with US. I need an American account. They discover that as an Italian politician, I collaborate with the Republican Party, the Gun Owners of America, with the National Review, with Cato Institute, and because of that, arrive the so BlackRock affiliated bank and say, no, sorry, you cannot have this bank account because you are pro-gun, because you are pro-Republican. I cannot accept it. I'm sorry. Whether if I'm a small or will become big, because it's different from when there were banks handled by Black Americans. They were not giving money to Black Americans because they were not reliable to give back money. It's not the same thing. It's like that you want to decide which kind of political freedom a person has to have because you want to give them economic freedom. I'm sorry, for me that is like a Soviet Union, that you give economic freedom in exchange of less political freedom at this point. And regarding the Patriot Act, I don't want to start going reason libertarian about the stuff of the Patriot Act, but I agree with Ailey that it's weird. And it's weird whether the pressure is from the government or whether the pressure is of BlackRock, because it's like that something is behaving like a government. I don't want that Larry Fink decide daily in which bank he has to have the money. I don't want to that decide where Daryl has to have the money or Steve has to have the money. If they want to be in a medium bank, they have the right to be in a medium bank. If they don't want to be in the Chattanooga bank, I'm sorry. They have to the right to keep their political affiliation, and they have to keep their economic freedom. And the same will be for Andrew. If one day one American bank will say that he's a ally of Alpha Bank and say, no, Andrew, you cannot have any more money on this bank because you are a ally of Alpha Bank, I will not accept it. I will bomb out that bank if I can. I'm sorry.
Thanks for that, Claudio. No need to be sorry. I know you're just joking with us. Alan. Alan's with Daryl there.
I think that was a mistake.
It was a butt hand.
It was a butt hand.
It was a butt hand. All right, pocket hand.
You guys are boring. You're not talking about anything interesting. So we're.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Thank you for that.
Where's Israel Palestine? Come on. Where's that?
All right.
Why don't we talk about the colors of the three dildos? I find it interesting that the media.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! How is that making it onto here?
No, but you know what's interesting about the whole situation.
Chartreuse peckers on the floor.
So I'm from the 70s. All right. So the media started using the word dildo in the 70s pretty often. Now we hear, instead of calling it a dildo, it's a sex toy. And even my wife, she saw the story and she was sitting there in the dance. She goes, what do they mean a sex toy? You know, like a lot of people don't know what that means. You know, they really
Is a
don't.
butt hand a sex toy?
What?
I'm one of the betting companies. You can actually bet on the color of the first one to hit the floor.
Poly market, I guess. Oh gosh, I think Mark is helping assist that. Just fun fact for you guys: in 7th grade, in the school bus, a comment was made, and your host famously asked, "What's a dildo?" So that was me, 7th, 8th grade, no knowledge, late bloomer here. But let me bring it back to the topic with Andre, and then we can get to the fun stuff, as folks say. Andre, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, just to talk about crypto again. Much like the dildos, which are being backed by crypto bros for whatever stupid reason. And again, as I mentioned in the chat, Haley, This is misogyny as it was from the very beginning of time. Just let's throw penises at women and laugh about it. Thank you, crypto bros. The crypto industry has been pushing for debanking because the broad executive order on debanking that the president put out is all about the reporting, not all about, part of it is about reporting risky behavior, investments being made by entities with risky behavior. Crypto is all about risky behavior. This is how cartels move money around. This is how, whether it's drug money, firearms money, etc. Crypto does not want to be listed as risky behavior. So they are putting out all the information that's needed to get rid of this, debanking. At the same time, this can be another thing that's ripe for abuse by the government, because this is going to be the government, much like it's turning to the universities, to say, prove to me you're not doing diversity anymore, and getting a shakedown with these $50 million deals, there's $200 million deals from universities. The same thing's going to happen to financial entities, because now you're going to have a government regulator come in and say, we heard you're still flagging risky behavior by investments. It's going to be a payoff system, just like everything else.
Okay.
I just have to say, Andre, you are the king of segues.
It's crazy. It's crazy that the dildos are related to crypto. It's insane.
I couldn't do it better myself.
No, but it's true. Like, people are throwing out the colors, and you bet on which color based on the crypto coin, or it's an announcement. Like, if you
Someone needs to explain the story to me when we have a minute.
We'll get to that towards the end of our off-topic section of the show here. Moving on to the census, this came up, I think, towards the end of the morning meeting, but this executive order on the census, and this has having to do, does it have to do with the midterms? Will it affect the midterms in terms of the numbers and how seats get allotted? What have folks heard about this executive order on the census? Any thoughts on it, the changes? Claudio.
I mean, from what I understood, the most important part is the fact that finally illegals will be removed. So there will be some change about the way in which they account the citizenship. But I know also that it's not something related with Trump, that they are having a problem, the one of the Census Bureau, to have data about the people living, because I don't remember in detail about what was related, but of the I think on the stuff that they want to be more related with race and other kind of details, so they could create a problem for the policies. But I think they deserve that. I think it's also deserving that they remove the illegal, because it can create a problem at a federal level, but also in terms of help. You can have cities that, because they have a lot of illegals, will obtain more money. Instead, they should keep that money, how can I say, ended for American citizens first, rather than foreign people first. I imagine all the places like California or others that they use more welfare than they need, but not on behalf of American people, or permanent citizens with a permanent citizen status.
Thank you, Claudio. And Steve, if you can let folks know where you're chiming in from.
Oh, most of you all know, from Southern Utah. So.
Utah. All right. All right.
And
go ahead.
Dot's over here on the sofa.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice. Nice.
Trump made a claim that the census, they had used some statistical models for coming up with some of the numbers. Does anybody know the basis for that? Is there any truth to that? Because if it is, that's an obvious violation of the Constitution, because it calls for an actual enumeration, which means, total count. So.
Okay.
I think it's the same as birthright citizenship. That was my response when I had a European TV studio asking about that. I was like, it's just another contention against the Constitution. So, like you said, either there's a basis for it, or it's like birthright citizenship, where he doesn't believe in it, and let's test the limits.
Well, birthright citizenship, there is a clause in there that says, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So
that's a pretty big.
Well, I mean, and it's never been tested, ruled on.
Yeah.
So the courts need to rule on what that actually means, or what the context was. And it could be that they just said, because at the time, American Indians and then also diplomats and things like that are not they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That
Right.
could be as simple as that, but who knows?
Steve, in a perfect
Anyway.
world, would you like Congress to weigh in on this?
On which one?
The census, since you mentioned the Constitution.
Sure, Congress absolutely should. They're part of they're one of the so-called co-equal branches. I don't want the courts just to do it. I think Congress needs to comment on it. They have one of the things I hear this often, and I agree with it. All three branches of the government get to have an opinion on what's constitutional. It's not just the courts. So the executive branch can say this is constitutional, this isn't. Congress can, as well as the courts. So they should. Personally, I think that if they were using statistical models, if it's true, they I don't know. What's the remediation? Do you redo the census if they violated the law? I think that's the only thing you can do. So anyway.
Okay, thank you for that, Steve. And I think that brings us to our off-topic section. So I'm kind of a little nervous of where people are going to go here. But what is on folks' minds this Friday? What's the chum in the water? What are you guys thinking about? Where's Daryl at? I know he wanted to stir the pot earlier. Oh, there's Dot. That's on my mind. Some nice doggies up here. What are folks thinking on Friday? What's left on the table? What did Mark not talk about, or what did he get wrong this morning? Any thoughts, Mr. Halprin?
I like the Snoop music.
Yeah.
Didn't hear that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Duke. You said something?
Yeah, I liked the Snoop Dogg rendition of the morning show exit.
Okay, I missed that one. Duke getting into the hip hop. Nice.
I thought
Steve,
it was a little long.
Mark chastised the chat for smack. So
He
that was
did.
interesting.
First time. I saw that
Yeah.
too. And everybody shut up.
Okay.
And I actually thought I was fairly well behaved. I wasn't engaging too much in it. So I don't think he was calling me out this time. So.
I don't think he was calling out a lot of people.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. The chat, there was like a kind of a high point, I guess, yesterday, and then today maybe not so much. I get reports. People send me reports on the chat.
I want to know Dean's algorithm for
The
smack
smack-o-meter.
analysis. I want to know how
Yeah,
that
he can
works.
score it.
Yeah.
Where I guess Dean had to step off. I was like, is that an actual program that Dean is using?
Yeah,
Or...
I was wondering if he's using AI analysis or something like that. If so, Dean, I'm mightily
Yeah, but
impressed.
I don't understand. He said it was a 3.5 today, and it was an 8 yesterday, and it was a 7.5. And I'm there every day. I didn't see any difference between today. I don't understand why today was 3.5 out of 10.
I
It
guess
didn't.
Mark brought down the hammer.
Was it because somebody accused the ambassador of go eat a bucket of chicken or something? I didn't see any smack. That was the only smack I saw.
I saw.
What's that?
I say Dean's rating is rigged. I think he's waiting it. I think it's all rigged.
Good. Now, getting back to the peace talks, I want to hear what our good friend has to say about that. I think it can't, from what I know from my security situations, I don't believe you could have the peace talks in Europe at present time because there's not enough time to do the security sweep. So I see it, going to UAE. What do you think, Andre?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I think in the chat earlier, and I've mentioned on my TV appearances, UAE is a Rome Statute signatory. That's one of those countries that Putin can't land in without the country having to realize whether they're going to arrest him for the arrest warrant or not. So I think Saudi Arabia is not a Rome Statute country. Turkey's not a Rome Statute country. I don't see him doing it in any European country, even Hungary at this point.
Right. I don't believe Hungary. It doesn't work. They can't. you can't sweep it in time. It's, you have to be in a place that's really a military state
Well,
that's
that,
got
that was my response to the Turkey thing, where Trump was in Istanbul, said, "Oh, maybe I'll join that." Yeah, of course, you don't do that without a sweep. But these kind of Istanbul was supposed to be like a let's just sit down and start talking. But now we're at the point where Trump's people want some firm proposals from Russia, and they haven't gotten those. Witkoff has not gotten anything firm from them. They've been very couchy in terms of their language, and so Trump has every right to say, not until you give me something solid, am I going to commit to anything? Because what happened in Istanbul was Putin bailed completely. Marco Rubio was in Turkey, ended up, the foreign minister never showed up. They just sent a deputy foreign minister, and then they kicked out the Americans. They wouldn't even let an American, Michael Anton from the State Department, be in the room for the talks. So, they're not, the Russians aren't showing Trump the deference that he wants. And again, I'm saying you need maximum pressure. That's what Art of the Deal was saying. Put the guy, down to the mattresses, step on his throat, and then, hey, let's have a meeting.
Also, Vincent, the reason why in Hungary cannot be done is for the simple reason that they don't have just an allegiance with Russia, but also an allegiance with China. And China doesn't want that America looks like the peacemaker. They want China now is talking international community. International community, what he's saying is that he wants the stuff done in his own way. And for him, it's okay that Russia is weakening itself in this war, because the day when it's weak enough, Chinese people will buy Siberia and they will buy after European Russia. Is that what they want to do? Let's be honest. Because one, ASEAN Russia is not populated as a European Russia. Second, they want Vladivostok as a second logistical port that can be used for delivering in Japan, Canada, other places. So we will have much more influence in these countries. Third, there is a lot of talk of Chinese. They want to make like Japanese resorts in Siberia for the rich families of China. So it's all about influence that they want to have. It's like what Arab countries are doing with Europe that are buying stuff. They want to do the same stuff in Siberia. And another thing why they will not go back in Turkey also is because now Turkey is in a weird situation because of the Syria, and also because Gaza himself. Turkey didn't adhere with what the Arab League said about Hamas. Turkey still thinks that they cannot have that issue, because otherwise having his party a lot of Muslim people as voters, but the Muslim people, they can vote for the most extreme right party instead of the development party. So it's a difficult situation. They cannot go anywhere. Maybe Malaysia, in Indonesia, that kind of places. I'm neither certain that they want to go there, to be honest. They have to find another solution.
How do you have a resort in Siberia?
What'd you say?
How do you have a resort in Siberia?
Can build anything. There's, oh my God, they have golf courses and other stuff there for oligarchs and stuff. They have mini mansions. You can import whatever you want and make it a thing. So,
pardon my ignorance, but I mean, when you think of Siberia, you think of a gulag and nothing but 20 feet of snow and ice.
Right, but it's also separated from everything, like Claudio said. You set up your own little statelet there, and you can have heated lawns and whatever.
I'm sorry to be negative, but will be like when Japan take the Manchuria part of the China, right, will transform that in Manchukuo. China wants to do the same with Siberia, let's be honest.
Claudio is right to point out that, and the U.S. U.S. went to pretty heavy blows last week at the United Nations with their alternate representative calling out China for specifically arming Russia, etc. China is on the record saying they do not want Russia to lose. Claudia is right. They want another port. They want Europe divided, Europe being occupied with and the U.S. being occupied with Ukraine, so they can have the potential to do something with Taiwan. But they also want the European market, and this is something that the U.S. is worried about. U.S. does not want China as part of the rebuilding of Ukraine. They have clauses in any deals with Ukraine that you cannot allow China.
Andre, is the reason why they are courting Spain, the Chinese. Spain was courting the Chinese, then we'll try with France, and then we'll try with other countries that enter in the wagon.
It's not just Weibo, which is what the Spain contract is, and Weibo all over China, but there is no bigger EV supplier to Europe than China right now. China is trying to dominate the market, and we need to understand that this is not just a Russia thing or just a China thing. This is a global thing to try to knock off basically the Western alliance.
Okay, all right. I'm going to ask, we can group source here, something random. I heard about Loomer, someone potentially getting Loomered. So who is this figure in the Trump administration that apparently loves to go to swingers parties and all this stuff? Any guesses?
Did she say Trump administration, or did she say just the politician?
No, I didn't think she meant Congress. I think she meant in the administration.
She did? Okay.
Yeah, which to me, but that's the right thing to go down the hill, Steve, because it's usually Congress who's into that kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, I was betting it was Nancy Pelosi.
I was thinking it was a former congressman who's in the administration. That's what I thought.
What dirt does she have?
She said that, what did she say?
She says there's somebody in administration that's into swinger parties. Whatever. Yeah, she's. Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, right. I don't see.
There's a tie-in with the dildos in this thing here. I'm just saying.
I don't think Ms. Loomer is going to be invited to the 9/11 memorial this year, and if she is, she'll be escorted off the premises.
I don't understand. Is swingers party illegal?
This is what Loomer said. What if I told you a high-level official in the U.S. government had an account on a sex solicitation website, so, Adult Friend Finder or something like that, or Dolly Madison, and regularly engaged in swinger activity? Would anyone even be surprised? I wonder how long it will be until it comes out. TikTok.
I thought Dolly Madison was a company that makes donuts, right?
You're thinking of Ashley Madison.
That's the one.
Anything,
I don't know anything about it, Duke. I don't know anything about it.
I'm so out of it, man.
If there is anything Americans don't care is about politicians' freaking sex lives. Like, who cares?
Really? I mean, it can also be Susie Wiles. I don't care.
Unless he's doing something illegal or with underage women, like, who freaking cares?
I agree, Haley. We think they're all degenerate.
People
right?
are
They're all degenerates.
Yes.
And Andre, way to play like I don't know anything about it.
All I know is that ice cream. I was thinking Dolly Madison. I don't know things.
Okay.
I thought they make donuts.
Oh, if you want to talk about ice cream machine and McDonald's.
I was thinking the first lady of who saved the portrait of George Washington in 1812.
James Madison's wife.
Right. And then that company, Little Debbie's, the left wing feels that was started by a pedophile. That's why he called it Little Debbie's.
Well, what I'm curious about is Loomer went after Vinay Prasad saying, oh, well, he was a Bernie bro, this and that. I'm like, well, but J.D. Vance also compared Trump to Hitler. So everyone's had this. They were on the opposite side of Trump. And so what was Loomer with Vinay Prasad? He was the under RFK. He's a UCSF researcher, doctor, whatever.
I like him.
Yeah. I thought he calls balls and strikes, right?
A lot of people were.
He does a good job explaining like scientific papers and just like if like he'll reveal some of the tricks that they'll use to like. Like he'll be like, okay, no, if you ever see like how to lie with statistics kind of thing.
Right.
See,
right.
What would be interesting for us two-way nerds? We're so into watching two-way and Real Clear Politics and the real insiders game. If you were to turn on talking about ball and strikes, if you were to turn on the morning show, CBS, ABC, NBC. What they were talking about is the Major League Baseball has promoted the first woman umpire in the history of Major League Baseball, and she's going to be umpiring a game this weekend, the Braves game. So the only reason why I bring this up is that the things that we talk about are completely different than what like the mainstream media talks about. You know, they have these feel good stories, like that would never come up on two-way that Major League Baseball finally, after 150 plus years, is going to have a female umpire. So she'll be calling balls and strikes, I think, on Sunday.
It's
Okay.
because we're all geeks.
What's that?
Because we're all geeks.
We're
Right.
political nerds.
And I
guys.
just wanted to mention, I had missed some of our shows. I had some medical issues, and that's why I've been kind of absent. And that, you know, it's no reflection on the rest of you. I'm not, you know, boycotting you or anything. And I'm not going to be able to make it on Saturday because I actually have had some medical issues this week, and you know, I'm a little bit I don't have my normal energy. I've been kind of reduced to being the brain in the jar. So
No,
you know,
we appreciate you here, Vincent.
so
And
but so when you get there, somebody should pick up the phone and FaceTime me so we can talk. I can say hi to the crowd.
okay, very
It's
nice.
gonna
Very
be a
nice.
live stream that we're setting
Of
up for
course.
the show, so you'll be able to put in to come in.
Did you have a different? Now, am I losing my mind? But did you have a different top on like 10 minutes ago from my
Yes,
training?
we have costume changes going
No,
on.
but she has blue on. I could swear she had white on. Or am I?
Hey, hang tight, Haley. We're gonna get your response here, but first I got to cut the live. Dot gave me the cue. She's like, "You've gone an hour here, so hang tight, and then we will continue the discussion."
Hey, it's Rahul Stunt Double. That's a wrap. Join us tomorrow and kickstart your morning with us. Head over to postmorningshow.com and join us on the Post Morning Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 to 10 a.m. Central, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss out. Join the conversation live at postmorningshow.com. See you there. Set your alarms, grab your coffee, and join the fun. Postmorningshow.com. See you bright and early.